Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our shared sanctuary of faith and reflection. Today, we are opening our hearts to confront the single most pervasive shadow that lingers in the human experience: the fear of the final hour. It is a quiet anxiety that touches the wealthy and the poor, the famous and the unknown alike. The terrifying thought that when the noise of the world fades and our eyes begin to close on this life, we might be left to face the great unknown in solitary darkness. We spend so much of our earthly energy building security and surrounding ourselves with community, yet the nagging question remains: who will be there when the spirit leaves the body? But what if I told you that for those who hold fast to their faith, this fear is entirely unfounded? What if the transition from this life to the next is not a cold leap into a void, but a gentle, loving transfer from the arms of earthly suffering into an embrace more tender than any we have ever known? Today, we are exploring one of the most deeply comforting mysteries revealed through the life of Saint Padre Pio. We are journeying into the heart of a specific, breathtaking assurance he gave to his spiritual children, a revelation that the Virgin Mary, the Queen of Heaven, does not wait passively in the distance, but descends to the very bedside of the dying. Padre Pio witnessed this truth. He saw her distinct maternal actions, observing that she attends to the soul with the same intimacy with which she cared for Jesus. For Padre Pio, death was not an end, but a meeting, and today we will discover why he believed that no devoted soul ever dies alone. To truly understand the weight of this comfort, we must first step into the world of Padre Pio's spiritual fatherhood, a role he took with a seriousness that often overwhelmed those around him. Padre Pio was not merely a priest who said Mass and heard confessions. He was a Cyrenian soul who carried the burdens of thousands. He often said that he could not enter paradise until the last of his spiritual children had entered before him. This was not poetic exaggeration. It was a binding covenant he made with God. His connection to the souls under his care did not stop at the boundaries of the physical world. He saw the spiritual life as a continuous, unbroken thread that ran through the trials of daily life into the mystery of death and beyond into eternity. For him, the hour of death was the decisive moment of battle, the final threshold where the soul required the most protection and the most profound tenderness. He knew through his mystical experiences and his own stigmata the agony of the Passion, and he understood that the physical and spiritual suffering of dying could be terrifying, but he also knew the antidote. He knew that just as a frightened child calms instantly when their mother enters the room, the terrifying specter of death dissolves in the presence of the Blessed Mother. His teaching was not abstract theology. It was based on what he saw with his spiritual eyes. He taught that for the one who loves Mary, the room of the dying is not empty, but filled with a radiant, majestic, yet incredibly humble presence that arrives to escort the soul home. One of the most powerful illustrations of this reality comes from a conversation Padre Pio had with a spiritual daughter who was plagued by a terrible fear of death. This woman, like so many of us, possessed a deep faith, but was tormented by the physical reality of dying. The pain, the suffocation, the sweating, and the isolation. She confessed this fear to the saint, expecting perhaps a penance or a general exhortation to trust in God. Instead, Padre Pio looked at her with eyes that seemed to pierce through the veil of time and space. He spoke to her not just as a priest, but as a witness to the supernatural order. He told her with absolute certainty that she had nothing to fear. When she pressed him, asking how he could be so sure that she wouldn't be overwhelmed by the agony, he offered her an image that was startling in its intimacy. He told her that the Most Holy Virgin would be there. He didn't say she would be watching from heaven or praying for her. He said she would be there, at the bedside. And then he added a detail that remains one of the most moving descriptions in all of Catholic mysticism. He told her that the Blessed Mother would sit beside her and, observing the sweat of her agony, would wipe it away, just as she wiped the sweat from the face of her Son, Jesus, during his Passion. This image of the Queen of the Universe performing such a lowly, tender act of service completely reframes our understanding of death. It transforms the deathbed from a place of medical sterility and fear into a sacred altar where the Mother of God performs her final act of earthly care. We must pause to let the gravity of that image sink into our hearts. The Virgin Mary, wiping the brow of the dying. This is not the distant queen portrayed in Byzantine art, sitting high on a throne of judgment. This is the Mary of Nazareth, the Mary of Bethlehem, and crucially, the Mary of Calvary. Padre Pio's vision connects the death of the Christian directly to the death of Christ. When Jesus hung on the cross, struggling to breathe, bleeding and covered in the sweat of his final agony, his mother stood by him. She could not take him down from the cross, for the sacrifice had to be completed, but her presence was his consolation. She was the witness to his suffering and the vessel of compassion that stood against the cruelty of the world. Padre Pio understood that because we are the body of Christ, Mary treats us exactly as she treated him. When a faithful soul enters their own passion, their own final hours of suffering, Mary returns to her station at the foot of the cross, which is now the foot of the bed. She brings the same silence, the same strength, and the same maternal touch. Padre Pio wanted his spiritual children to understand that this isn't a metaphor. He saw the continuity between the head, which is Christ, and the members, which are us. If she wiped his face, she will wipe yours. If she held his hand, she will hold yours. The sweat of our fear and our pain is precious to her because it is united with the suffering of her Son, and she attends to it with the reverence of a sacristan handling the sacred vessels. There is another profound layer to this teaching that Padre Pio often emphasized, which is the concept of transfer. In our earthly thinking, we view death as a separation, a ripping away from everything we know and love. We focus on the hands we have to let go of, the hands of our spouses, our children, our friends. But Padre Pio saw the spiritual reality, which is that death is actually a transfer of embrace. He often spoke of the Blessed Mother waiting to receive the soul. In the accounts of the deaths of his own parents, and particularly his father, Grazio, we see this tenderness in action. When his father was dying at San Giovanni Rotondo, Padre Pio was deeply distressed, weeping for the man who had sacrificed everything for his vocation. Yet, in those final moments, the atmosphere around the bed shifted. Padre Pio knew and communicated to those around him that the assistance of heaven was present. For the saint, the moment of death was the moment where the soul is passed from the care of the church militant, the prayers of friends and family, into the arms of the church triumphant, personified by Mary. It is a handoff. We are not dropped into the abyss. We are handed over, just as a midwife receives a newborn baby from the womb, wiping it clean and wrapping it in warmth. The Virgin Mary acts as the midwife of the soul, receiving it from the womb of the corrupted body and birthing it into the light of eternity. Padre Pio's assurance was that this transfer is seamless for those who have lived in her shadow. To understand how practical and real this was for Padre Pio, we have to look at how he instructed his spiritual children to prepare for this moment. He did not tell them to wait until they were on their deathbeds to build this relationship. He taught that the rosary was the chain that bound the soul to Mary, a chain that would eventually be used to pull the soul into heaven. He famously called the rosary his weapon, but it was also his lifeline. Every Hail Mary recited during life, was a deposit, a building block of that final bridge. He believed that every time we say, "Pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of our death," Mary takes that request as a solemn vow. She binds herself to that specific hour. Padre Pio's confidence in her presence wasn't based on presumption. It was based on the fidelity of a mother who cannot refuse the cry of her child. There are stories of friars and visitors who would watch Padre Pio pray the rosary, and they would see him enter a state of such profound absorption that he seemed to be conversing with someone present in the room. He was nurturing the relationship that would sustain him, and he urged everyone to do the same. He wanted us to know that the familiarity we build with her now removes the strangeness of her presence then. If we talk to her every day, if we ask for her help in small things, then when she appears at our bedside at the end, she will not be a stranger or a frightening apparition. She will be a familiar face, the one we have been talking to all along, finally come to take us home. This reality of Mary's presence also serves as a powerful remedy against the attacks of the enemy. Padre Pio often spoke of the devil's attempts to disturb the dying, to induce despair or terror in the final moments. The enemy knows that the hour of death is his last chance to snatch a soul, and he often tries to amplify our guilt or our fear of judgment. But Padre Pio taught that the presence of the Virgin Mary is a shield that the enemy cannot breach. Where she is, the devil cannot be. Her purity and her authority are so blinding to the forces of darkness that her mere arrival at the deathbed clears the spiritual atmosphere. When Padre Pio told the fearful woman that Mary would sit beside her, he was also assuring her of protection. It was a promise of sanctuary. Imagine a child having a nightmare, beset by shadows and monsters. The moment the mother enters and turns on the light, the monsters vanish. In the spiritual realm, Mary is that light. She brings the peace of Christ into the room, silencing the accusations of the accuser. Padre Pio wanted his spiritual children to fight the temptation of despair by fixing their eyes on this promise. He urged them to believe that when they could no longer pray for themselves, when their mind was clouded by pain or medication, she would be the one praying for them, effectively finishing their prayers and standing guard over their soul until the very end. We also find in the diaries and letters surrounding Padre Pio's ministry a deep understanding of purgatory and how Mary's comfort extends even beyond the immediate moment of death. While the vision of wiping the brow refers to the agony of dying, Padre Pio also saw Mary as the star of the sea, who descends even into purgatory to comfort and release the holy souls. This connects back to the deathbed because it assures us that her care is continuous. Even if we are not perfect, even if we must undergo purification, she does not abandon us at the grave. Padre Pio often offered his own sufferings for the souls in purgatory, but he always deferred to the efficacy of the Virgin Mary's intercession. The comfort she offers at the bedside, that wiping of the sweat, is the beginning of a care that ensures we reach the beatific vision. For the listener today, this is a source of immense hope. It means that the relationship we form with her is the single most durable bond we possess. It survives the failure of the body, it survives the judgment, and it survives the fires of purification. Padre Pio's vision is a testament to the tenacity of a mother's love. He wanted to strip away the theological abstraction and leave us with the raw, beautiful reality. She is your mother, and mothers do not leave their children when they are hurt, afraid, or dying. They draw closer. Let us reflect deeply on the specific action Padre Pio described: the wiping of the sweat. Sweat is a symbol of effort, of struggle, of the curse of Adam. By the sweat of your brow you shall eat bread. In the Garden of Gethsemane, Jesus sweat blood in his anxiety. To have Mary wipe this away is a sign that the struggle is ending. It signifies the removal of the burden. It is her way of saying, the work is done. The suffering is over. You can rest now. This was the comfort Padre Pio offered. He didn't promise that there would be no pain. He didn't promise that dying would be easy in a physical sense. He was a realist who bore the stigmata. He knew pain intimately, but he promised that the pain would not be meaningless and it would not be solitary. The act of wiping the brow is an act of recognition. It validates the suffering of the dying person. It says, "I see what you are going through, and I am here to soothe it." For those who have watched a loved one suffer in their final days, this image is a balm for the heart. It tells us that even when we, as human observers, feel helpless, standing by the bed, unable to take the pain away, there is an invisible nurse, a heavenly mother, who is ministering to the soul in ways we cannot see, providing a consolation that transcends medical science. Finally, we must ask ourselves, how do we live today in light of this vision? Padre Pio did not share these insights to satisfy curiosity, but to change how we live. The invitation is to cultivate a childlike spirit. In the Gospels, Jesus tells us that unless we become like little children, we cannot enter the kingdom of heaven. Padre Pio embodies this teaching by pointing us to our mother. A child does not worry about the logistics of the journey. The child simply trusts the parent's hand. To live in the light of this promise means to surrender the anxiety of control. It means waking up every day and placing our eventual death into her hands, saying, "Mother, I do not know when or how I will go, but I trust that you will be there." It changes our prayer life from a duty into a conversation. It softens the hardness of our hearts. When we realize that we are destined for such a gentle embrace, the trials of this life seem less permanent, less devastating. We can face our mortality not with stoic resignation, but with a quiet, burning hope. We are walking toward a person, not a void. We are walking toward the same arms that held the creator of the universe. As we conclude this reflection on Padre Pio's beautiful assurance, let the image of the Virgin Mary at the bedside settle deep into your spirit. Let it displace the cold fears that may have taken root there. Remember that this was not a fairy tale spun by a storyteller, but the witness of a saint who lived between two worlds. Padre Pio saw the reality that is often hidden from our eyes, that love is stronger than death, and that the mother given to us at the foot of the cross takes her duty with absolute seriousness. You are not just a number, not just a fleeting life in a vast universe. You are a child of a queen who is preparing to meet you. When that hour comes, whether it is soon or many years from now, you will not face the darkness alone. You will look up, perhaps through the haze of the world fading away, and you will find her there, ready to wipe the brow of your weary soul and whisper the welcome you have longed for all your life. Until next time, may you walk in that hope, and may the peace of Christ be with you always.